Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mouse and today I'm going to be talking about my track Heavy Crown, which is from my EP, Angels Never Die. Heavy Crown is not new. Heavy Crown is really old. I wrote this song about the same person who Unladylike is written about. It's about professional rejection, which is not the most glamorous of topics, but that is what it's about. Although I think you could listen and interpret it in your own way, to be honest with you, because I think that the lyrics they're quite ambiguous. So this song is actually one that's existed in many different ways. I first wrote this acoustically, so just me singing and piano. These lyrics are literally what was in my mind at the time and what I needed to expel. I tried it in a sort of EDM style. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I collaborated with somebody called Andrea Consoli on the track Nothing Comes Close. So when we were deciding what we wanted to write, the actual original discussion that we had was Nothing Comes Close was something I'd written before anyway. We changed a lot of the lyrics and melodies and developed them ourselves, but it was either we work on Nothing Comes Close or Heavy Crown is the other option. And we went with the former. So Heavy Crown was something that just kind of sat around in my lyric book, not going anywhere, not doing anything, until I released Escape in early 2019. After that, Harry, or as some of you might know him, Mun Sing, got in contact with me and asked if we wanted to do something together, and I was obviously like, yes! Of course, he had remixed Escape under his other alias Heavy Petting, and that remix is just so fun to me, and it was the first time anyone had ever remixed anything I'd done before, so it was just so exciting to see somebody take something I knew like inside out and do it their way. I love seeing how people reinterpret my art. I think it's so interesting. This song is a collaboration between Mun Sing and I, ultimately. That is the production, it is a collaboration. This existed as an a cappella, and then it was basically, it didn't really work with Andrea Consoli and I. We wanted to do Nothing Comes Close instead. Then when Harry approached me to work on some music with him, I was like, I still really like this song. I think it is definitely something I really want to commit to working on. I gave him a cappella and said, what do you think of this? Do you like it? And I think he got back to me like really quickly with something pretty much fully formed, I felt. There were some back and forths anyway as we kept adding things, and the structure changed a couple of times. Ultimately the way it is now, most of the sound design is there from the beginning. So this song is one that it's actually a rarity on the EP. It is something people have heard live. This has been part of my set list since before I was playing shows, back when the very idea of playing a show made me go into a panic mode. This has been, part of Mouse as a project for as long as Mouse has been going, pretty much, this song. And also ever since playing it live, it's one of those ones that's in my set where people do come up to me and say, that Heavy Crown song, I really like it. So it was really nice to know that there was one thing on the EP that people had heard before, and they kind of had an inkling of how it would sound as a studio version as well. I would say that actually didn't really work in my favour when it came to recording it, because I was quite set in my ways with how I sung it, but I tried to dismantle that as much as I could, because when I was performing it live, I hadn't really thought about how I wanted to sing it. Harry came over to mine one day and we recorded the song together. However, at that point, I was an alright singer, but I'm definitely much better than I was back then. So I wanted to redo it because I knew I would do a better job, and I'm glad I did, because I did do a better job. Annoyingly, I've actually recorded this video before, but I have since deleted it accidentally, so here we are recording it again. So this is the project for Heavy Crown. I mean, there were so many different projects, all called kind of the same thing, so Final Stems seems like the one to best show this project. When Harry and I were sending it back and forth to each other, there was just a lot of saving as. Also, if you can hear people screaming in the background, I'm not sure how clear that will be. There are some children playing outside. Anyway, as you can see, this is definitely one of my neater projects, which is nice. Particularly important when it came to bouncing the stems for this. So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff going on in here, because I absolutely adore the production of this song. I think it is so interesting and cool. Yeah, as I mentioned before, this one was definitely primarily Harry, and then I just kind of added some flavour and balance things, and that's kind of it really. But let's start off with the drums, actually. That makes the most sense. So drums at the bottom, which is unusual. Usually drums are at the top for me, but never mind. very kind of stuttery, isn't it? This percussion though, I love it so much. This topper here. And that topper pulls so much weight throughout the song. Let's have another listen where the drums are particularly full. If you know anything about me, you will know that I love percussion. I will layer and layer and layer percussion until I can't layer no more. I love adding drums so much. I love programming drums, but this was a particular joy to work on because what Harry gave me was the majority of this anyway. He put in so much percussion and it just gives the song so much feel, so much movement, and also so much impact between section to section, because of course we have this section leading into what I've called chorus C, which is that kind of climactic point where we have the percussion layering on top of that topper as well. Chorus. Yeah, so cool. All I really did there myself was just excuse me, like thicken things out basically. So I just added a kind of top and a bottom layer to the snare that he did originally, just to kind of make it sound a little bit fatter. But yeah, it's the drum programming in this is just awesome. The order that I've kept these folders in is very strange, because usually you'd have drums at the top, then bass, then maybe like pads, and then you kind of go and then have vocals at the bottom, but there we are. Anyway, so the bass I love so much. Within the drums, I guess because it's percussive to some extent, I've kept my sidechain in here. The sidechain for this song actually changes in a more climactic, I guess, high energy point. We have a double time sidechain, and we have a kind of single time, is that the phrase? I'm not sure. Single time sidechain on other aspects. And there are some parts of the song which have no sidechain at all, which I don't usually do. I've never really played around with sidechain that much. Usually I have one consistent amount of sidechain throughout the song, but this definitely, again, gives it so much drive, which I love this song for. So I will keep that sidechain on while I go through the bass stems here. So we've got this lovely sub. No sidechain there, of course. And here in this next section is where things get a little bit more spicy. You can hear that throb, and that's the sidechain working double time. So again, that's kind of paying attention to the whole frequency spectrum of the bass part and kind of thickening it out from there, because we have this part of the bass which tends to be more of a treble-y sound, kind of fills out that higher range. Again, making the bass sound pretty thick. Transitions were genuinely a huge part of this. They are a huge part of any song, particularly any pop song, because they add movement and exaggerate the break and start of sections. However, and I wouldn't usually take you through the transitions that I use, because that's quite base. That's quite, I don't know, they're kind of like utility. They're not really very creative, or they can be, but at least the samples that I have aren't particularly creative. But I want to show you one which I think is very important, and to demonstrate, I will put all of the instrumentation back in so you can kind of hear the difference with and without it. It's this 8-bar plus riser. This is actually a serum preset, but it really took that build to that extra climactic point in the song towards the end. It really took that to a whole new level, and without it, just sounds really like, I don't know, it just doesn't sound like it's very, it doesn't sound like it's amping up enough. Yeah, and we also had a couple of impact sounds there as well. Let's just listen to that section and I will drop that bit in and out and you'll see the difference. Don't know if you might have heard my shoulder click in time there, but you can really see how necessary that is to take us from bar 73 to 81 to that next section, that last chorus. I absolutely love that riser. I think it added so much, and that was a real last minute addition actually. So we've got bass. Let's look at the pads. Again, I'm going to keep the sidechain on because I know there are some pad sidechaining going on here. So a lot of this is based around this little riff here. And we also have it in this voice too, which is really delicate and beautiful. I love this sound so much. It has that kind of twinkling edge as it kind of darts between left and right. Really pretty. We get that kind of second riff, I suppose. And then the post-chorus. And you get that sidechain there. Just gives it an extra level of size, really. And again. As for pads, there aren't really too many. Another one that I added was this chorus B pad, which you can hear. Chorus B, chorus C up here. Very confusing and inconsistent, but there you go. So that was something I actually added quite early on. I felt like there was a bit of a gap that could have been filled there. And because this is a bounce in place, I can't actually tell you what it actually was originally. I think it was a quite standard synth, but what I did was I automated the distortion throughout this throughout this kind of 16 plus bar segment. I automated the distortion to increase with time. So by the bar 85 or so, you end up with this quite crunchy sounding sound, I guess. And there are multiple uses of distortion. Of course, it's just a kind of stylistic choice, but also it works like glue, and it kind of can glue a mix together. And that's kind of what I was thinking of with that. I think having that messy sounding crease was really cool because it again builds kind of tension, but it also kind of helped, I think, with working out how to mix it as well. There we have our pads, and then we move on to the leads. This is where it gets a little bit more exciting because there's a lot more going on. So we have the first lead. I love this sound. I'm not sure what exactly to call it, but it's sort of It feels very like it's tripping over itself, you know. Quite syncopated, I suppose. Oh, I love these harps. That one's got a really hard like transient on it, and these ones don't so much. But altogether they sound really cool. Same melody with this really staccato sound. What I also really enjoy about working with Mun Sing is that he uses Logic as well, so it's very convenient, but also everything, all the sounds that I got from him, every sound, pretty much, apart from the additions that I added, were all Logic stock sounds. So there's nothing really crazy going on in here. It was mainly, if I remember correctly, Alchemy, which is Logic stock, and also the retro synth as well. Again, Logic stock, which is really cool. Another aspect of this track, which I adore, is this rhythm pad down here, which can be heard in the pre-chorus. I'm using a Logic stock tremolo to kind of keep it moving from side to side, and also it just gives that pre-chorus so much movement. Oh, and of course there is a guitar part in here as well. It's like an acoustic guitar, quite clearly an acoustic, like stock, not live. You know, it's a VST. So that is of course mirroring this other. Kind of giving it that kind of syncopated feel once again. Yeah, so cool. So cool. So cool. I just think that those melodies, and I didn't write those, this was all Mun Sing, the melodies are just so, for some reason they just make me feel quite emotional. Maybe it's because obviously I'm so close to this song, but I don't know, just they just hit me in the heart. I don't know why. And then we also have this vocal chop, which was taken from our original recording that we did together at my house. And yeah, I didn't re-record these parts. These were kind of demo vocal-y sort of stage, and Mun Sing basically generated them into this sort of formant shifting, pitch shifting, vocal transformation, which is automated, so it kind of moves through the spectrum as well, which is very cool.
Ever told me anything like 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 ever told me anything like.
Just really fun. And also this happens again, here. You get kind of flavours of it. Also, there is no panning on this, of course, as you can see. This is because I was bouncing stems. This is the latest version of the project I have. So obviously they would have been panned, and they are in the final version. So I think, the other thing that I also have, which did come in handy, was this noise layer. In a similar way to how Distortion can act like glue, noise layers can do this very similar thing. If they are quite quiet in the mix, just kind of filling out a frequency spectrum which kind of doesn't really have anything in it, for example. And they are both, of course, being affected by the sidechain, which you can see here. So that purple bar is that point where it's ducking because it's being controlled by this MIDI here. And let's add some drums in it as well. Let's keep it interesting because it is just noise after all. just love this song so much. Every time I hear that, I mentally complete it by having Ascent, the finale, straight afterwards. But yeah, there you have it. That is Heavy Crown. That is essentially everything that's in it, minus, of course, some panning, which was happening in the mixing stage. There you go. So here we are at the Heavy Crown vocal project. Yeah, as you can see, it's not a very tidy project whatsoever, but... And of course, as I mentioned with the production as well, for some reason there are several different projects that are all called variants of the same thing. But this is the one that sounds most like the version that is out now. So I'm sure this must be the current one. Who knows? But this is the one we're going with. So I have turned off all delay and reverb, just so you can hear things a little bit clearer. The mix that is in this project is certainly not the mix that is heard in the finalised version either, but at least with this mix you can definitely hear, you can kind of pick out and hear what each part is doing, because there's a lot of different processing happening in this project, particularly with things like form and shifting.
Can you do it quick? I don't have time for this. Got my own business, I'm in the thick of it. I saw it coming with you. How the power is true when you fly me out of London. When I'm under the assumption you'll be patient.
Quite high pitch shifting as well.
Didn't know the urgency, you never tell me anything. Get you it's such a
and also the use of this, which is just a reverb tail reversed. This is quite a popular trope in pop music across vocal production, really. Because it's, for some reason, I suppose it's because it's the same vocal texture and timbre as the voice that's in the song, so it gives this sort of riser a familiar sort of feel, I guess. And this is the chorus.
heavy crown. You still wanna cut me out. Heavy crown. Do it again in my head. Only I read your mind. I would've saved myself ahead of time.
What you can definitely notice, and I don't think that this is any different in the finalised version, is that a lot of these vocals don't actually sound in time. And to be honest with you, it's probably because they're not. That is something that I learned a lot through creating this EP. Not that vocals needed to be in time, because obviously they do, particularly in pop music where everything is as pristine and clear as possible. But it's something. But it was a process that I learned to do. I knew how to do it before, but I just wasn't very good at it. Whereas it's something now that I have come to quite enjoy. Who'd have thought it? So if there's anything in production that you think, oh, I just hate doing that, things can change, don't worry. I now flex time my own vocals and it's good.
Heavy crown. You still wanna cut me out, but you cut me. My eye. Don't you feel any remorse or guilt, of course.
So there's a lot of things like that as well. This one isn't a particularly great example of it, to be honest, so I will pinpoint a better one later. But what's going on here is we have a pitch shift and a formant shift as well. It's a formant shift down by 7. So without those, it just sounds like this. Boring. Okay. Okay, particularly interesting now. Again, similarly to Love Me Like You're Gonna Lose Me, the vocals of this were done without the use of Sound Toys Little Alter Boy, which of course is just so much better and smoother than Vocal Transformer, which is a Logic stock formant shift. It's not bad, it does what it should do, but it's just not as smooth as what I use now.
Don't you feel any remorse or guilt, of course. Wanna leave your side.
I love that bit so much.
Your side, side. Fly me out in London.
So you can see harmony loudest. Now that is because I loved that melody. I loved the melody of this harmony. I think it's so nice.
Fly me out in London when I'm under the assumption you'll be patient.
I love writing backing vocal parts that aren't just really static. There's nothing wrong with backing vocal parts like that. They have their place for sure. But I love writing harmonies and backing vocal parts which really have rise and fall in them. I think it's just really interesting to listen to. And if I'm ever listening to music and somebody else has done that, that is something I pick out immediately. I'm like, yes, that is very cool. It just keeps the track flowing really nicely, and it adds a little bit of interest because backing vocals don't need to have that rise and fall. Typically, they are quite static.
I didn't know the urgency, you never tell me anything. Kept you waiting. It's such a heavy crown. Choosing when you cut me out. Cut me out. It's such a heavy
Some Adlibs, spicy Adlibs.
And you do it again and get into my head. If only I could reach at me. Cut me out.
So as we get towards this kind of really climactic point of this song, I did do some more ad-libs, which were kind of me pushing my voice a little bit more higher, more powerful, like for example this one, which I have so conveniently labelled ad-lib. So of course that's happening as this track is building up more and more and more until this really the final chorus. And it seems really obvious to me, but that was the first time I'd ever sung it like that. That vocal part didn't exist before in the years, to be honest, that I was performing this song before I actually recorded it properly like this and released it. Which is always a really interesting one to see how parts develop, but there was a lot added that I didn't actually sing live when I did this before, and that part is definitely one of those bits. Love that part as well. This end section is one of my favourites because when Mun Sing and I were recording this a long time ago, actually it's a couple of points I want to make about this. One of them was I basically said he was sitting in this very room recording this track with me in late 2018, early 2019, not sure. And I basically said, I have an idea, what do you think about this for the outro? And I sang it to him and he was like, yes, that's really, really good. Yeah, we're doing that, which was cool.
Cut me. You cut me.
Something else I want to say about that session, which we recorded it together in, of course I've since obviously re-recorded it since then. Okay, so this part of the chorus, if yeah, I haven't warmed up, okay. If only like if da, 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 da. Now I tried recording this in my chest voice. Nuh-uh. When we were together and it sounded abysmal. It was so poor, so bad. Yeah, not good, cringe. And I really wanted to get it in my chest, but I hadn't really explored my mixed voice at all by then. And to be honest with you, by the time I recorded this version, I still hadn't really, but I was exploring it or starting to kind of dip the toe into seeing what my mixed voice can do. And also, what I really like about the performance of that is not just where it was in my voice, but also that it has this quite slow vibrato on it, which is really rare for me. It's very natural somehow for me to have this really quick vibrato. That's just how I learnt, I suppose, and it's something that I love to do, and it feels very natural to me to do that. But yeah, that note for some reason has this really slow vibrato, which I really enjoy actually.
Cut me. You cut me. Oh, oh, oh.
Yeah, I freaking love this song. It was one of the hardest to sing, I suppose, but I'm very proud of it now. And it's one of those songs which just gets me pumped. And it's really fun live as well. Yeah, really fun to play live. That's Heavy Crown.
Subscribe if you liked this video, and make sure you hit the bell button as well to make sure you don't miss a thing. And like it as well, obviously. And hopefully I will see you in my next one.